Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. All of us know personally, or at least encounter, Greensboro neighbors who are struggling. Maybe you see them walking downtown streets carrying their belongings. Maybe you see them putting back food at the grocery store, or maybe they work right next to you, never letting on that they are one car repair, one tooth filling, or one very high power bill away from losing their home. Well, this is the reality for those living in poverty, experiencing now or on the verge of experiencing homelessness. John Thornton has seen these situations play out over and over. He's working on a lifeline to stop that over and over cycle. He's the founder and executive director of HELD. Hello and welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So glad to have you. Okay, before we even talk about HELD, let's talk about you and kind of how you got into this work. Give us a little background.
Yeah, so my background is started in pastoral ministry out of grad school. Actually worked at First Baptist Greensboro, and while I was there, I became sort of the go-to guy when someone walked in off the street in need. So it was helping manage the benevolence funds and just meeting people's needs right where they were. As I was doing that, we had someone who gave to a fund there and was able to actually use pretty significant thousands of dollars to help people out of poverty. And so I sat with people that were struggling, people who were homeless, and said, in 6 months, if you could envision yourself being stable, paying for what you need, what do you need to buy between now and then? And then we did this crazy thing where we just used the money and bought those things. And it seemed to work over and over and over again. And so I took that knowledge with me into working with the homeless at the Interactive Resource Center for years.
Because you were seeing some trends kind of from these people who were walking in your door, right? That like we were talking about that one car repair, the tooth filling, the
Exactly.
power bill.
Yeah, we had a guy who was actually a church member and was struggling with poverty. He'd inherited his home, so he had somewhere to live. And he had a job as a welder. His car broke down, so he lost his job. He lost his job, so he couldn't get his car fixed. So he couldn't get a job to get his car. He was just kind of stuck.
Right.
So we took a couple $1,000s, got him a car, got him insurance, got him some gas money, got his utilities turned back on, and within a few weeks, he was back working as a welder, making more money than I did as a minister.
Oh, wow. That's a good success
I was in the
story.
wrong line of work, apparently.
So at first you were actually buying the things that they needed, or or paying the bill, perhaps. But then it kind of morphed into this idea of just giving over the money. So kind of talk about that evolution and how that worked.
That's right. So after ministry, I started working at the Interactive Resource Center, a day center for the homeless here in Greensboro. And my first day was February 18th, 2020. And then about 3 weeks later, the world was totally normal and everything was fine. And we sheltered people for about a year. And as we were coming out of that, I put together a project at the IRC that was guaranteed income. So people get the money, they can spend it on whatever it is they want or need. So we got 10 people that were homeless, $5,000 each. We got them a volunteer to support them, a phone and service, and then a bank account, which was actually a huge challenge and barrier to even getting the funding that they needed. But within just a few months, several of the people were able to move into housing. The very first person that we gave that money to was living in an apartment, and within a week of getting $5,000, got approved for a place and moved in. So I was able to see it work on a sort of another scale, and it was a lot easier than running around and buying things for people.
Okay, so this is a new idea, but some people are listening saying, wait, aren't we already doing this? Aren't there agencies out there providing food, providing housing, providing clothing, legal assistance, medical assistance? So exactly how is this different? Really drill that down.
Yeah, that's really good. When I was growing up, my dad used to tell this joke that money can't buy happiness, but happiness can't buy groceries. And when it comes to money, there's oftentimes no substitute, no services that can account for paying for rent, putting in a deposit. Turns out landlords only take cash. And so moving into a place, keeping a place, getting groceries, getting that car fixed, there's just no substitute for having the money at the time that you need it to pay for the thing that you need. And all of us know that, and we oftentimes take it for granted until we don't, until our car needs fixing, till our rent is due. And so this is just another intervention to serve people, to support them with something that they need, much like healthcare, social support, diapers for a child,
food in the pantry. This is another support that people need.
It's another layer.
It's another layer. That's right.
It's exactly another layer. Okay, so has it, or was it initially difficult to find support for this effort? And when you said, I'm just going to give away money, and people are like, wait a minute, are you crazy? You're just giving away money?
Well, people still think I'm crazy, yes. But no, people were pretty supportive. They wanted to know, how are they going to get the money? Where are they going to come from? There were a lot of practical questions. So you're just going to people walk in off the streets. So that's where I really learned about developing a partnership process. So with that IRC project, we had referrals from partner agencies like Goodwill. We had referrals from case managers. So there was a way for people to come into the program, get the support that they needed, and then worked out fund disbursement. We're not just handing over an envelope of cash that can get lost. We help them get a bank account, put the money in the account, help them access it, use it in a way that best works for them.
Okay, so yeah, let's drill that down. So
Yep.
that you said that was a challenge at first,
Yep.
but you had to figure out what's the best way to get a bank account for somebody who maybe doesn't have a permanent residence at the time.
That's
and,
right.
And, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's really about providing that stability for people. People that are homeless or struggling with housing or just struggling, they have enough chaos in their lives. They have enough going on, enough to worry about. And so what I saw my role as, and still see it as, is providing that stability that people can rely on. So there's a lot of questions that they may have. They may be struggling with employment, don't know where I'm going to work, don't know where I'm going to live, but the way we set things up is, you're going to get this money in this way, and here's what the program is going to be. And that's just something that's really hard to come by for services and service providers that themselves are dealing with the chaos of other people's lives. And so that was a huge part of that project, and then starting Held.
And so exactly how it works, get the bank account set up, and then what happens?
Yeah, so for that project, we started with the bank accounts, and what I learned from that was that it's very difficult to open a bank account. It's something people need, but it can be step number 2 or 3. So now for Held, we provide direct guaranteed income to people who need it, both homeless and housed, people that are struggling. And the way we do that is we work with a platform called Give Card. So they get a reloadable debit card. So it's not just Visa gift card you get at the grocery store. It's got a PIN, it's locked, but they can use it right out of the envelope and go get the things that they need. And so found a balance between
the bank account
safety and
part,
security,
yeah.
but also not creating a huge barrier for people that just need the money.
And so they will get a certain amount of money each month for a certain amount of time? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's right. So I did that project at the IRC, and then I left to start Held, because I realized there are a lot of agencies that want to provide financial support. They see people that need it. They want them to get it. And those agencies would tell me, we don't know how to do it, and we can't afford it. So I thought, well, I figured out how to do it. I love doing it. So what if I could afford it? So if I raise the money, bring it in, will you send people to me? You keep providing the services that you provide. Held, we provide the guaranteed income. And so that's where that partnership model came from. So we started with Goodwill as our first partner, and they sent 4 people to us in July of 2023, and we began providing them $833 a month for a year. So it's $10,000 total. One of those people was homeless, I think we'll talk about in a little bit, but baseline is some sort of monthly guaranteed income over a period of time.
Okay, and so you've said it a number of times. Let's tell people where did Held come from? What's the idea? I mean, we know the idea behind it, but why? What's in the name?
Right. Yeah, I perhaps foolishly chose a name that is not self-explanatory at all. It makes no sense unless I'm the one telling about how it goes. So Held really is this concept from this therapist, D.W. Winnicott. So he's a child therapist in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and he had this idea that we all need to be held. Children need physical holding, but it's more than that. It's emotional, it's supportive, but then as we grow up, we need people that support us, that know us, that are able to be there for us when we're struggling. And part of that holding is that it's personal, so it's someone that knows you, it's intimate, it can be physical, like with a child, but it's also stable and reliable. And that's where the guaranteed income comes in. So we're partnering with agencies, they're getting to know people, providing services. This person needs help finding housing. This person needs help with childcare. This person needs help with employment. They're helping them with those things, and then we come in and provide that stable, reliable, guaranteed income. They know every month on this day they're going to receive this income. They can bank on it. And together, that's what it means for someone to be held.
It's like the foundation of a house.
The foundation,
up,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. There's also a song by the band Smog that I really like, this indie band, and it's called Held, and it's this like cool guitar riff, and the guy's like very deep, booming voice, and the first line is, "For the first time in my life, I let myself be held like a big old baby."
And so I like that it's that there is something deeply intimate to us as people, and it's also a little bit funny that we all, to some degree, are like a big old baby.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, okay. John's going to stay with us because I know that some of you are thinking, okay, yeah, this is a great idea, but can it really work? Can a few $100, $800 a month or so really turn around a person's life forever, perhaps? We're going to find out when we hear some client stories coming up right after this break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. With us today is John Thornton, Executive Director of HELD, a Greensboro nonprofit that provides guaranteed income directly to people in need. It sounds so simple, and in some ways it is very simple. So talk to us about your partners. How are you making this work locally and on a bigger level?
Yeah, so we work through a partnership model. So we've got to say no to somebody because we don't have unlimited money, unfortunately. We're working on that. But we work with partner agencies. They're already working with people, whether that's helping them with employment, with housing, childcare, just taking the next step in their life. So they refer people to us, and then we begin providing them the guaranteed income that we've agreed upon for that program. So locally, we've worked with Goodwill and Step Up and now the YWCA Emergency Shelter. But we also have partnerships across the state where they provide the funding, the programming, and the people. We help facilitate and make sure that money gets to the people who need it.
Right, because again, we talked about those obstacles,
There's
and you've
so
done
many
that
challenges.
work.
That's right. Yeah, it's so difficult for agencies to get money to people who need it. So we started in July of 2023 providing the first direct income to anyone that we had done. We started with 4 people with a partnership with Goodwill. Even just 1 year ago this month, we were giving money directly to 7 people who need it. Last month, we gave money to 94 people.
Whoa.
Across 5 programs. We're in Charlotte, Winston, obviously Greensboro, and Durham. And so we've got partnerships with a neighborhood association down there in Charlotte. We've got a program with Duke as part of a research study, and then the United Way of Winston-Salem. And each program is different. It has different amounts going for different needs as part of different programs. And then locally, we've started focusing specifically on homelessness. So that's the big thing we're going to focus on. And so we've started what we call the Housing Support Program. Other than HELD, I'm not good at naming things.
That's
Just call
okay.
it what it is. And so
You're working with lots of people.
That's
to help,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So
you're doing what you're good at.
Yes. Yeah. And so as part of that program, people that are currently homeless but sheltered, whether that's a couch, staying in a shelter, long-term shelter, emergency shelter, they get referred to us, and they now get $3,000 in upfront costs for move-in, things like that, and then $750 a month for a year. We also have a participant support specialist that checks in with everybody once a week, and then we've got a list of available apartment units as well.
Okay, so there are people who are skeptical, right? People are, how do we know this is really going to work? How do we know that people are going to use this money to really get them back on their feet, to pay that bill, to get the car fixed, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Well, the short answer is we don't. And I'm very sympathetic to people that have those suspicions, because I, myself, working at the church in situations, I know everyone that I know has helped someone, and a lot of times they've helped them financially. And everyone I know has been disappointed when they've done that in some capacity. It didn't work. We weren't able to help them with what they needed. They misspent it. So I get where that suspicion comes from. I've done it myself. I've seen it. But what I've also seen is people that were homeless that moved out of a hotel and into an apartment. I've seen people that were on the streets that are now in their own apartment working full time. I've seen people that got hurt 1 month after we started providing them funding, fell behind on rent, but were able to stay caught up because they were receiving guaranteed income. Were able to get back into their place and then move into a new place with their mom. We had someone who got in a car accident like 3 weeks after we started providing them. They had no idea that would happen. And so there are a lot of unknowns, and we don't know how people are going to spend it. When you give people money, you give them trust. That's a scary thing, but there's really no substitute.
But it's also an amazing thing.
It's awesome. When it works, it's the coolest thing.
Maybe they have never had that trust given to them,
That's right.
too, and there's something to say there. So let's talk about let's talk about some of the people that you've really impacted. So tell us about Toby.
Yeah, so Toby is HeldGSO's participant support specialist. I may be spoiling the ending here.
Right, yeah,
Toby works for HeldGSO and supports all of our people in our local program. So calls once a week to check in, see how they're doing, makes referrals to agencies that we have relationships with based on need. Toby was also the first person that received guaranteed income as a part of that project with the Interactive Resource Center that I started. So Toby
Didn't always work for HeldGSO.
No, that's correct.
That's right. Yeah.
So Toby was homeless, working 2 jobs, living in a hotel, falling further and further behind, paying $300, $400, $500 a week. During furniture market, paid $1,000 for a hotel.
For that hotel room. Yeah.
For a hotel room smaller than this space in here, and was falling further and further behind. Thought to himself when he got referred to the HeldGSO program, gosh, I could get out of this if I just had like $5,000. And $5,000 within a week, signs a lease on his place. Within a week after that, moves in. About a year later, starts working for HeldGSO and is now supporting all of the people that we give money to in our local programs.
And people are saying, how can that happen? Because that $5,000 allowed for first month's and last month's rent, security deposit, and maybe, and then just a couple extra bucks to pay off some bills and to start fresh.
That's right. To get in, get stable, and find reliable transportation to keep those jobs, to stop falling behind by paying so much. And it's not that easy for everybody, but there are a lot of people for whom it is that easy that the resources aren't there.
So why not, right? Why not? Okay, how about Brian?
Yeah, so flash forward, Toby is our first person with the Interactive Resource Center. I go from there, start HeldGSO, and Brian was the very first person that we started giving money to with HeldGSO. Brian was also homeless, was referred to us from Goodwill, was 19 years old at the time, living on the streets. Had a difficult relationship with his family, came here to stay with some friends. A lot of people do this. That didn't work out. Didn't have anywhere to go, didn't have anybody to support him. And so Brian winds up on the street, sleeping outside the Children's Museum, staying at the library, is working at Goodwill, so gets referred to HeldGSO. We began providing Brian $833 a month, the $10,000 total. Through that partnership, our support, and also Youth Focus, was able to get into a rehousing program, and now has been in his own apartment for about a year and a half, is now in the interview process for a really great full-time job that'll be starting here in a few weeks.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And so he's done with the HeldGSO program.
That's right.
He's graduated.
That's right.
And he's still supporting himself.
That's right.
Yes, that's definitely success.
Yeah.
Okay, and Wanda.
Yeah, so Wanda was also in that first group of people that came in through Goodwill. And so Wanda was not homeless, but Wanda had a job that she lost after like 30 years. She'd had rotator cuff surgery. It was pretty physically demanding, so she had a daughter with disabilities. Had stable, reliable housing, but still had a lot of expenses and didn't know what to do. So used the money to take some classes at GTCC. The very first thing that she used the money for, and I saw it on the card statement, was to go to the DMV and make sure that her car registration was taken care of, because she knew if she lost her car or got in trouble there, she wouldn't be able to pursue those jobs. After about 8 months, she got a full-time job that's better suited to her physical abilities. And
says this is just 3, and you've just started. I mean, you really have just started.
Yeah.
So where does the money come from? I mean, $10,000 is not chump change. So you have to have some people who believe in you, or organizations. How does it work?
Yeah. People ask me this pretty regularly. Where do you get your money from? I'm like, I don't know. I just ask people and they give it to me. Our first donation came because I was hanging out at the bar at a brewery, and a guy asked me what I do. Like literally the first donation for HeldGSO. And he wrote a check right then.
Nice.
So,
wow.
So we're supported by, we have about 100 recurring monthly donations. We have faith communities that have supported us. That fund that I mentioned earlier that I used at First Baptist to help get people out of poverty, First Baptist Church Greensboro has given $40,000 from that fund to HeldGSO, and we have turned around and given that directly to people who need it. So it comes from all over, and I tell people, for everyone that we are supporting, every dollar counts. And so when they give to HeldGSO, no matter what they're able to give, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever they're able, anything they're able to give, every dollar counts.
So what is it going to take to sustain this, to grow it, to scale it?
It's a really good question. The number one thing is funding, but we are looking at expanding this homeless project here in Greensboro. We'd like to get to 40 to 50 households. And so what that's going to look like is working with people. I have found that what works best is when people can get into a shelter. Working with people with their shelter in some sort of stable, reliable place, it's way easier to more rapidly move them out of that shelter and into a place using the direct guaranteed income. There's people in less stable situations that I'd like to expand to as well, but that seems to be the model that works. We actually just today found out that our second person from this project we've started here for the homeless is moving out of a long-term shelter and into an apartment this week. So that seems to be kind of the formula for like, this is the best way we can have an impact for people here.
And that's the research. That's what we've seen over and over too, is
Yep.
stable housing is the key to
Yep.
everything else, to
Yep.
health, to family
That's right.
support, to income, all the things.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. So that seems to be what we're looking at is how can we partner with agencies where people are moving into shelter, get them from shelter as quickly as possible into their own place. Now that shelter bed is open back up for somebody else, and it's really fun. Like I just love it. I mean, we asked where the funding comes from. I just love talking about it, and I'm able to tell people, I can't guarantee success, but no agency can.
Right.
What I can tell you is here's the support this person's going to get. Here's how we've seen it work, and we're just going to go do more of it. And I'd like for people to be a part of that.
I like to hear that. Okay, so we do want to tell you, if you want to read more about Toby, Brian, Wanda, about the program, do go to the website. It's HeldGSO.org. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk more about partnerships and an emerging one happening with the Interactive Resource Center, and that's coming up right after this break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. With us today is John Thornton, Executive Director of HELD, a nonprofit providing guaranteed income directly to those in need. Also joining us this segment, Benita Curtin, Interim Executive Director of the Interactive Resource Center, a HELD partner. Hello and welcome. Welcome back and welcome to you. Glad to have you here. Benita, let's start with you because many who are watching have heard at least about some of the challenges the IRC has faced, particularly in the last year. So share a little bit about where the organization is now and the future.
Yes. So I would say one of the things that we feel that things are improving. We hope we're hearing feedback from the neighbors that they feel like things are improving. Just left a meeting this morning that they spoke of some improvements that they see. So I'm going to go with we see improvements. And I think where those improvements are coming from, we did have previous leadership. So November 1st, she went back to from 24/7 to our regular Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. So I think that helped alleviate some of the concerns that were going on. But what we saw when I took over in November, I took over about mid-November, was that, okay, we've done that, that's great, so what are we going to do next? Mm-hmm. So we're going to address things that people are saying. So we're going to address safety, we're going to address the cleanliness of the outside and the appearance of things. And so we really said we're going to be consistent in that, and we're going to spread the message to our guests that this is your place, this is for you, so we want you to also take some ownership of that, right? So we hired more facility people to help with the cleaning, we actually had them on site. We actually extended some hours for them to do that, right? But I think the other thing is consistency. Mm-hmm. Consistency in the messaging to our guests, consistency with when we're talking about we're going to manage behaviors, that we're going to work with you and we're going to meet you where you are, but you're not going to impede anyone else's progress and happiness and peace here. And so that message, I think, pretty quickly spread. And so out of that, we also had a committee before, which was, I guess, advisory committee. And we weren't as consistent with that meeting or feedback. And so we really revved that up and said, hey, if we're going to do this, you have to tell us. We're here with you, but you're on the front lines. And so we heard from them different ways that we can do grievances, different ways that we can approach if we have to ban someone. And so we implemented those changes. One of the biggest things that we implemented is something that's coming up this Friday from 10 to 1. We're having a resource fair for our guests. And so that came from them saying, listen, you all are doing all these things is great, but we also need more resources in the community. We feel safe here now. We want those resources to come on site so that we can feel like we can access those resources, because a lot of times, it's hard for them to go to a new building, a new place, and meet new people. So just listening to that, and what I've heard back so far is, okay, we feel like you're really listening and meeting our needs. So that's the biggest thing. It's listening, implementing those changes, and being consistent with those.
Yeah, and really being consistent with the core of your mission.
Yes.
And so tell us exactly what, for those who are unclear,
Sure.
what is the mission of the Interactive Resource Center? And what are you doing day to day?
Sure. So Interactive Resource Center is part of what it just says, a resource center. The resource center is for those who are experiencing homelessness. So we are a day center. We can't solve a lot of other things, but we are a day center. So what we're saying is, during the day, if you come here, these are the resources that we have. We will pull together with the resources in the community, and we will have them here for you so that during these hours you can access those. And so that's really at its base level what we are. We may have different programs that do different things, but we're really here to be a resource to help you along this journey.
Yeah, help you get to the next step. And that's where kind of Held is,
Yes.
is a partner. You talk about the resources, one of many partners. So how did you connect? I know that you have some history and knew each other already, but I mean, how did you actually decide to connect the programs a little bit?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think our history is quite strong. You made it sound like
No, I didn't mean to say
I know you guys have
no.
beef, but now
No. You know each other from working together.
Now, I mentioned that I had worked at the Interactive Resource Center for 3 years. I started the middle of February, and a week later, I got a new office mate, Benita Kurt.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
so we shared an office together for several years, worked
Yes.
tough
Some tough years. I
It
mean,
was
COVID years,
not
yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in our office freaking out.
We're
for
like,
about
are we
a
going
week.
to have a job?
Yeah, are we gonna? Is the world gonna exist? Yeah. And so we worked together there, and then also, as I was doing that project that I mentioned, the very first pilot project, Benita actually referred, I think, 2 or 3 people into that project, supported them through their journey. And so as I've ventured out and started Held, and then gone back to working specifically with the homeless here in Greensboro, it just made a lot of sense for us to
It did.
reconnect and form this partnership.
And I would say, so at the time when John and I first met, I'd been a social worker for all 20 years and had various jobs in various states. I lived in Nebraska, lived in Florida, and Michigan. And so one of the things that he really pointed out with some data that changed and shifted for me was a lot of the work that we do as social workers is more parent to child type feeling. So we think we have to stand over you and tell you what to do. And with
What you need to spend your money
right,
on.
what you need to spend your money on. And so when it came to guaranteed income, it's like, listen, it's what John said earlier about trust. We're building a trust relationship. So we're really building a partnership, as opposed to me as your parent standing here telling you what to do with your money, what to do with your life. So understanding that everyone has the right to autonomy, and that people, if given a chance, will make good decisions for the most part. Yes, you may have some people that don't, but we have to trust that the majority are going to. And when you put that trust back into their hands, we see amazing things happen. And so, from there, when John went to Held, and as we're regrouping and we're looking at the challenges that we face, one of the things that we see is our voucher system, which is the housing vouchers that come through our community. There's a backlog with that, right? And so not only can people not get access to that quickly, there are some landlords, especially after COVID, I think we went up by like 75% in rental costs. So they're not accepting vouchers a lot. We lost a lot of that. So with Held, what we see is, okay, if you can get the money into someone's hands, and they can go to a landlord and they can pay rent themselves. Now they're not waiting on that backlog. So that bottleneck starts to ease up and people start to be able to flow through an actual system that works. And so that's one of the things that we have been talking about a lot in the new initiatives, and making sure that though we're there as a day center, that our numbers are dwindling. We're not there just trying to exist. We're there to make sure that they move to that next step, and Held is the next step.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and I think both of you have kind of touched on this, but apart from the housing, the job, what do you see just within a person shift when they're able to do these things, when you put that trust in them?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's something like with Toby, where it's like you see what people imagine as the solution to their problems become a reality. with Toby saying, if only I had about $5,000, I could get out of here. And there it is. And that on some level, they know and we know they need money. And it's just not there. And they know it, and they sometimes can't even say it, because why would you even ask? Because it's not something that's typically offered. And so to see that when I was a kid, my parents would, put me to bed or make me do whatever. I would, instead of saying I don't want to go to bed, I would say I can't want to go to bed. I can't want to. I've talked to my therapist about this a lot. But I have found both with people that want to give money, they think it's not that they think I don't want to give money. Right. And when people receive it, it's not that they think I don't want the money. They think I can't want that. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I
I'm
can't
not allowed to.
I'm not allowed to, because no one will give it to me.
Or maybe I don't deserve it.
Or there's
Exactly.
and so to watch people make that move and to see that the thing they know is one of the key problems that they are facing, one of the key hurdles, that there's someone out there going, okay, well, we'll help you with that. And there's nobody else who's been able to do that they couldn't want that. It really opens up what else they might want.
Yeah.
And I would piggyback off that exactly, John. And I think one of the best way I can put it is, before they may have hoped in me and what I could do, now they hope in themselves. And you see that so clearly. And that changes their life. I mean, one of the gentlemen, we were able to get him guaranteed income. The next month, he had a full-time job. Well, he started off part-time. He went there, but he worked so hard. They gave him a full-time job when they didn't have a full-time position available. But he was such a great worker. But I think he said, I'm investing in myself now. Someone else trusts me. That's what he actually told us. You all trust in me. I'm going to trust in myself, and I'm going to do this. And
in fact, I remember when we did the orientation with him, and he'd spent a lot of time in and out of prison over his life. It was really turning things around. And so one of the questions I asked at the orientation, and I said, so what is it, you've now got $5,000, what is it you think you want to spend that on?
Right.
And he goes, I'll have to get back to you on that, because I've never been able to think about that.
Yeah.
And to see that there's some people that think, oh, if only I had 5,000, I know exactly where I go. But then some people go, well, I've never had that opportunity. And that's what is exciting to see that open up for people. And that's what it's really all about.
Thank you. Thank you both for all the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending some time and sharing it with us. And there are lots of resources where you can learn more about this. And this is new and emerging, and so it's a great time to get involved to find out about the good things happening at the Interactive Resource Center, the IRC. InteractiveResourceCenter.org is the place to go. Held is HeldGSO.org. Once again, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you. Thank you for watching Gate City Insider, for spending some of your time with us today. For all of us here at Greensboro Television Network, we hope you have a great day.